Back to follow-up segment tonight. You may remember that 1 week ago, Donald Trump held a rally in San Jose, California. That exposition devolved into violence.
I was walking out with a Trump sign. They grabbed my Trump sign and started following me, saying I was like a racist.
Now, there are allegations the San Jose Police Department did not do enough to protect Trump supporters and that the mayor of San Jose was derelict in his duties, to say the least.
The notion that there was some stand-down order is ridiculous. I don't have the authority to give a stand-down order. I would never give such an order anyway, and I know that our police chief would never accept one.
And joining us now from Louisville, Kentucky, where he's covering the funeral of Muhammad Ali, Fox News correspondent Jonathan Hunt, who was on the scene in San Jose last week. First of all, what's the update on the arrest, Jonathan?
3 more arrests, Bill, in the last 24 hours. That brings the total to 6. Police in San Jose say they are still looking for others and plan to make more arrests. By the way, of those last 3, 2 of them were just 16 years old. 1 was 17, and that certainly reflects what we saw on the streets that night, Bill, that a lot of those who were protesting, a lot of those who were causing the violence, a lot of those who were involved in the attacks on Trump supporters were not even out of high school, Bill. Okay,
now, we saw a bunch of Mexican flags in the montage we used, but the arrest sheet is all over the place. A couple of Hispanic names, but not all. And it looks like the only thing they had in common was they're all under 20 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that the vast majority of those we saw on the streets that night were under 20, many of them, as well as I was saying, under 18, not even of voting age. So that was certainly the demographic that we saw out there. And interestingly, Bill, it's very similar to what we've seen in other violent anti-Trump protests in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Costa Mesa down in Orange County, California.
What about the cops, the San Jose cops? Did they, as a member in Baltimore, the first night of the rioting there, Baltimore cops just let the crowd run wild. Was this a similar situation in San Jose?
Well, look, this is what I'd tell you from what I saw, Bill. The convention center was about 200 yards away from a Marriott hotel. The cops were concentrated in that 200-yard area. As some of the Trump supporters left the rally, some of them were headed to the Marriott hotel. A huge group of protesters, I'd say around 100 or so, maybe more, tried to follow them into that hotel. That's when the police stepped in. They put what they call a skirmish line between the Trump supporters heading into the hotel and the Trump protesters. But what we saw was that is where the police stopped, outside the Marriott. It was more as if they were protecting property rather than people. Meanwhile, the 100 or more protesters went around the corner to a different street where many other Trump supporters were simply trying to get back to their cars, to the parking garages, and that's where all the violence took place. And I can't be sure of the time we were there, Bill, but I would say it was at least 10, perhaps 15 minutes where we saw fistfights on the streets, people being attacked, and not a single police officer in sight for at least, I would say, 10 minutes or so.
Well, the police chief, Eddie Garcia, acknowledges that he didn't have enough officers to control the violence. Right. He actually said that. He said he had 250. 250 should be enough, but they weren't deployed, as you mentioned, in the right spots. But it doesn't look like to me there was any conspiracy to have these punks beat up the Trump people. Would you say that's a reasonable assertion? No conspiracy?
I think we have to take the mayor and the police chief at their word that there was no stand-down order, there was no conspiracy. They were simply outnumbered, and they decided to draw a line in one place. And as the police chief has said, they can't simply send a couple of officers out after each
No, they should have more, though.
That makes it very difficult for them.
They should have more.
They should have had more, absolutely.
All right, Jonathan, thanks very much. We appreciate it.